Hello, hello, hello there, music makers. I hope you've brought your appetites because today we're digging into some tasty treats. I'm going to be showing you the exact techniques that I use to mix this song that has 5.7 million streams, this song that has 6.4 million streams, and this song that has over 23 million streams. Now, sadly, because of copyright, I can't open up those exact mix sessions for you, but we're going to use a brand new song. And I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. Where to start is the question, and the answer to that, step one, start at the end, and that means starting with the mastering or the two-bus process. We want to have all this processing already there and be mixing through it, because especially as new music makers, we don't want to undo hours worth of work by adding all this intense processing at the end. Let's start with it, mix through it so we're hearing it the whole time and making our decisions based on that sound. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so top-down mixing. We're starting with the mastering process. So these are going to be all plugins we're adding directly to our stereo bus or our master channel, whatever your DAW is calling it. And it's going to consist of just 4 things. A top and bottom EQ, so just a little hype on the top, a little hype on the bottom just to make it feel full and bright, a little bit of compression to kind of glue it all together. We're going to put one more EQ on there just in case we need to do any like carving out along the way if things are building up in our mix. And then finally we're going to have a limiter just to give us a little bit of that extra cohesion and a little bit of extra level. Let me show you what I'm using. I've got just the stock Pro Tools EQ doing a little boost at 12K, a little boost at 100 Hertz, just giving us that top and that bottom. Then I've got our compressor. We're going to be doing about 3 dB worth of compression with this. We've got a pretty fast attack, pretty slow release. That way it feels nice and punchy, but it's getting glued together at the same time. And we've got the surgical EQ. Again, we're not doing anything with it yet because we haven't even really started to dive in yet. And then we've got a limiter. This is the only non-stock plugin I'm using right now because I think the Pro L2 here by FabFilter sounds absolutely amazing. And all this is doing is giving us a little bit of that extra cohesion and a big bump in level. Now, I've kind of just tossed these plugins up real quick. If you need to pause, take a look at my settings, feel free to do so. But let's take a look at what it sounds like before and after we're adding all of these effects to our master channel here. So here's before. And here's after. It feels like the work's already done for us. It's crazy. It's like night and day. This does literally like 85% of the work for you, which is why it's a pivotal first step and why I encourage everyone to start this way. Your mix is already feeling awesome, so you're going to be excited and you're going to get better things out of it because you're already excited. So let's see what we can get into with the next step. Now that we've got our 2-mix, our master bus, our master chain all kind of dialed in, now we just need to start with a general balance of all of the elements in our song. So when it comes to balancing, the first thing we want to do is assess the scene. So let's just take a quick listen to what's going on in our track and just see if there's anything that we need to change level-wise to help it all sit better together. Just listening to that little clip, I can tell that lead guitar line, that feels just too loud. So let's pull that down just a little bit. So I'm just going to come in here, pull up my guitar fader, and I'm just going to pull it down a little bit at a time, maybe a dB, 2 dB at most at one time, just listening to see how it affects it. And then once it feels right, just going to stop. That's about 2 dB down from where it was, and that's already feeling better. It's now kind of sitting underneath the vocals a little bit more, but on that same note, the lead vocal feels a little quiet to me. So let's start turning that up a little bit. We're going to do the same thing. Let's just pull up its fader, and I'm just going to start nudging it up just a little bit till it feels like it's sitting a little more on top of the track. Let's check it out. Sub 1. That second move there brought it to where I can feel it sitting above the background vocals now. It just feels like it's just on top of the drums. Everything's sitting a lot better together. And that's the whole point. Balancing is just about getting all the elements to play nicely together. So now that it's all playing nicely, let's check out the next step. Now that we've got a general picture painted of our entire track, it's time to move on to step 3, which is compression. Compression is going to help us tighten that picture up even more by bringing some of the loud sounds down and some of the soft sounds up. It's going to balance everything out a little bit more for us so nothing gets lost inside of our picture. I know compression is complicated. There's a lot of controls, a lot to understand. So I've made this cheat sheet so that you guys can get an understanding of what to expect when you're doing different things: attack, release, threshold, and ratio. So let me show you how to put this to work. As we've balanced in our song, we've got a great general idea of what's going on in there, but sometimes we'll find that sounds get really loud or really quiet, and we want to be able to like level those out a little bit. And that's what compression is going to let us do. Let's take a look at this spot at the end of the song here, where it's kind of like a tag.
Rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches.
You can hear how when he starts to say riches, it falls off a little bit. We don't want that. We want it to stay up front and bold. So that's where compression is going to come in. I'm going to use the Waves Renaissance compressor because it's got a really easy, simple interface. Let's solo it up and let's dial in some compression real quick.
Rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches,
Maybe that's a little much.
rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches, rags.
You hear how riches now stays the same the whole time. It doesn't drop off as much. The volume is nice and consistent. Let's put it back in the track.
Rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches.
I can now understand rags to riches the whole time. Instead of like straining to hear it, I can now hear it the whole way. So it's keeping our nice balance that we've got steady throughout. We haven't had to do any additional volume changes. We just add a little bit of compression to tighten things up. Man, it's already starting to feel really great. What else do we have left to do? We've painted our picture, we've tightened it up a little bit with some compression. Now it's time to give it some sparkle and some clarity, and we're going to be using EQ to do that. Getting rid of any low-mid buildup, adding a little extra top to give it a nice presence and excitement. Now I've created this cheat sheet to give you an overall view of where to find different things. If you're just looking around how to add sheen, how to find attack, where the mud lives, this will give you the answers to all of those questions. And if you like this chart or the compression one that I showed you, I have tons more tasty treats like this inside of the music production group in our Song Chasers group. You should definitely check it out. But let me show you how to add a little bit of extra clarity into this song with just some simple EQ moves. Our mix is really coming together, and now we just need that little bit of extra clarity and detail, and EQ is going to really help us with that. So let's just take a listen to where we are real quick, get an assessment of what's going on.
I'm like a fella rolling on your goodies, golden kisses.
It's shocking how much even just the first step has like really made this thing come together. To me, the only thing I'm really hearing is like the bass feels maybe just a little like undefined. There's some boom to it. Doesn't have a lot of cut. Let's see if we can fix that. Let's just open up an EQ. I've already shown you the Pro Tools stock EQ, so let's use another one of my favorites, which is the Renaissance EQ from Waves. Again, super simple interface. And let's try to get rid of some of the mud and add a little bit more of the attack, of the aggression. Now, if you need to go back and refer to that sheet I just showed you that shows you where to find those frequencies, go ahead. But let's just dive in real quick. Let's solo it up and see what we've got. Yeah, some of that low mids, like 90 hertz this area. It feels like it's building up there. Let's get rid of some of that. Oh yeah. It might seem counterintuitive to be taking low end out of the bass, but that's going to let the low end of other things shine through. This bass has a lot of sub information, so we don't need some of that higher bass frequency information, even though it's still crazy low. It's going to just open up a little room, let the kick talk a little bit more, and that's what we want. Now let's add a little bit more clarity and definition so it can kind of push forwards in the mix a little bit. There we go. That feels a lot better. Let's just do a little filter here on the bottom, just to get the really, really deep lows out of the way. I like that. Let's put it in the track. Let's listen without it first.
I'm like a fella rolling on your goodies, golden kisses.
It's okay, the bass is just kind of back there though. It doesn't really make any sense. Let's listen to it with the EQ now.
I'm like a fella rolling on your goodies, golden kisses.
I hear it biting through now. I hear the, it's speaking through. This is just cleared up that low end a ton. Now it doesn't feel overwhelming and muddy. It feels nice and clear, and that's exactly what we're going for. This mix is growing up quick. We're getting to just the fun layers now. So let's see what's next. Next up, we're going to be adding effects, reverbs, delays, stuff like that. There's two ways to typically do it. You can either put them directly on the track, or you can use sends and returns, so you can send multiple instruments or vocals to the same effect. And that's what we're gonna be doing today. We're gonna be looking at adding some reverb and some delay to the vocals to just help them sit a little bit more cohesively inside of our mix. Let me show you what I mean. With EQ and compression out of the way, we can now get those effects loaded on there. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna be using a send and return method, so I'm gonna be using these sends to send to the reverb and the delay that I've got down here. That way I can send both my lead vocal and my background vocals and stuff to it, so I can make them all feel like they're in one space together. Reverbs and delays are important because they help create depth. They give a little bit of extra character and uniqueness to your sound, and that's something that's gonna really help it feel like there's more soul, more energy in there. So let's add some reverb to what we're doing here. So we've got our lead vocals soloed up. Let's just take a listen real quick.
I'm Rockefeller, rolling on your good is gold.
Very cool. Let's turn our reverb on, and I'm just gonna move this up to send signal into our reverb. Let's see what we got.
I'm Rockefeller, rolling on your good is golden kisses.
Ooh, suddenly he's in a nice little room there. Let's get a little delay going too. I find that you always want it wetter than you think you do. So try putting more effect on than you think you might actually need initially. And if it's too much, you can always back it off later. But I find that by going more, it always tends to sit just right.
I'm Rockefeller, rolling on your good is golden kisses. I leveled up on life, I'm loving.
Sounds like a lot right now, but let's put it in the track and see how it feels.
I'm Rockefeller, rolling on your good is golden kisses. Your love took me from rags to riches.
And let's add those backgrounds into it now. You can feel the lead vocal feels a little more established now. It stands out a little bit more because it has that space around it. So let's give those background vocals that same space. Again, I'm just gonna hit play. I'm gonna start turning it up a little bit. And once it feels like it's too much, I might back it down.
I'm Rockefeller, rolling on your good is golden kisses. Your love took me from rags to riches.
And you can hear it's got a nice tail on it now. And suddenly, not only is that lead vocal poking out, but now those backgrounds are poking out too. They all feel like they're kind of sharing that space together, which is the beauty of using a send and return system like that. Man, this thing's growing up quick. Ah! All right, I'm excited to see where we go next. Bum, bum, bum. Now it's time for the scariest part of this whole thing. I remember being terrified by this when I first started making music. But now, after all these years, it's such a simple process. I don't know why I was so scared, but I know so many of you still are. And I am talking about automation. Just finding it freaks people out. But it's such a simple process that can yield you such huge results. You have to be using it, even if you use it in the most simple ways. And the hardest part is often just finding how to even get into automation. Now, I'm showing you in Pro Tools, but if you're looking to turn automation on in Logic, this is where you would find it. If you're looking to turn automation on inside of Ableton, this is where you would find it. Let's take a look at a few ways that automation can help our mix feel even more exciting. It's time to really start making things pop. One trick I love to do with automation is just lowering the master volume on all the quiet sections just a little bit, so when it goes to a big section, it really jumps out. To do this, all I have to do is use my selection tool, select the area that I want to turn down, and then I use my trim tool and I turn it down about 1 dB. You can see over here I've got my volume selected and I'm just pulling it down. So now when it comes to the big chorus, boom, it's gonna jump out. Let's listen to what we did.
For life. Hey! I'm Rockefeller, rolling on your.
You can feel how the vocal feels nice and even when we're in that little section, but then boom, when the chorus hits, the vocal jumps straight out at you. That's exactly the effect we want. Give it that feel of excitement. There's one other spot I want to look at. When we get to this outro part, the rags to riches part where we compressed earlier, it still feels like it drops down in volume just a little bit. This is a great chance to use automation to just help pop it up. So I've got my volume automation selected here, and let's just listen to what happens with the lead vocal there.
Rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches.
You can feel it just sits back a little bit, like the backgrounds feel like they're right on top of them. I love where the backgrounds are. We just need to pop that lead up a little bit more. So I'm going to use that same technique. I'm just going to use my selector tool, select the area that I want. And again, remember, I've got my volume selected right here. I'm going to just use my trim tool, and I'm going to turn it up. Let's turn it up like a dB. So when it gets there, the vocal's going to just jump up a dB, just for this section, just to help it stand out. Let's check it out.
Rags to riches, rags, rags to riches, rags to riches, rags.
That helps a ton. Now you can hear his voice front and center. The backgrounds still feel like they're at a great level, but the vocals now just right there, grabbing your attention. These are just the last little bits of spice that we need to add to this track. It's growing up real quickly. I feel like we're closing in on an absolutely killer mix. So let's see what we have to do next. Whew! We did it. We automated, people. We did it. Pat yourselves on the back. That's got to be a good feeling. If you liked how that felt, smack that like button for me, why don't you? We have gone through all the crazy technical parts of mixing. All that's left now is like the nitty-gritty kind of just quality control stuff, the easy stuff. We've done the hard bits, so you've approached the summit. Congratulations. Congratulations. And this is normally where people just stop. And now going on is what's going to elevate your mixes. First thing we got to do is listen critically to the whole song. We need to be going top to bottom, combing through the song, combing through, just listening for anything that jumps out at us and fixing those mistakes. Keep listening top to bottom until nothing is tweaking your ear. And then next, we need to be referencing other songs against our song. We want to stack up against the competition, so we've got to put the best up against our tune. How do you do this? Just go to Spotify, find the top 50 songs in your genre on Spotify, and just listen to them, listen to yours, see what the differences are, and try to match that, match the level, match the EQ. Use that as like your North Star to point towards. And if you own the song, just drag it right into your session. Make sure you turn your stereo bus stuff off if you're listening to it, but listen to that song versus your song. Or even easier, the way I like to do it is having a plugin like Metric AB to just load your songs into, and then you can literally just with a click of a button go back and forth between your mix and the reference song. I can't actually show you the reference audio because of copyright, but this is an extremely powerful process, so don't pass it up. Whew! 7 steps in, and I don't know about you all, but normally at this point in the game, my ears are either shot or it's crazy late at night. So step 8 is going to be take a break and walk away, or sleep on it. Either way, your ears need a rest. So if it's middle of the day, just take a break, walk away for a minute. If it's late at night, sleep on it. And if you're sleeping, maybe you're dreaming. And if you're dreaming, maybe you're dreaming about becoming a professional music maker. And if that is your dream, I might be able to help you with that. You see, I run an exclusive group inside of our Song Chasers community only for people who have purchased our music production mastery course. And the reason you have to purchase that before getting in is so that everyone starts from the same foundation. Now, once that foundation's in place, I dig in deep, going into live teachings every month. I do 4 or 5. We do live production and mix critiques. I bring on other industry professionals as guests. We do contests, giveaways, all sorts of fun things. It's an awesome time. So if you're interested in learning about signing up for the Music Production Mastery course and getting free access to my Song Chasers group, go on over to fullcirclemusic.com/mpm or click on the link below down in the comments. Whew. Whoa. I'm awake. I'm awake. What? Okay. Whew. I think I was dreaming for a minute. Step 9, sanity checks. Now we've got fresh ears. It's time to listen top to bottom for anything we might have missed before. So we're going to just do the same thing we're doing, combing through, listening, beginning to end, over and over until nothing's tweaking our ears. Then once that's complete, we want to bounce an MP3. Let's send it to our phone. Let's listen on our phone. Let's listen in our car. Let's listen on our sound bars. Why do we want to do that? We want to experience our song where everyone else is listening to it. No one else is listening to it on your speakers. They're going to hear it on their phones. They're going to hear it in their car, or they're going to hear it on their sound bar. So we want to make sure everything's slamming in all of those places. As you listen, make notes, go back into your session, make the tweaks, bounce another MP3, listen again. Keep going until you feel like it's absolutely perfect in all of those places. And that process might take a minute, but that's fine because we're going for the best that we can make it. Which brings us to number 10. Print your final version, a nice high resolution file. You don't want an MP3 going to your digital service providers or your distribution partners like DistroKid or CD Baby or anything like that. You want high resolution. So if you don't know what those settings should be, check these settings out. These are the settings I use when I print high resolution versions. And once that's done, you're done. Congratulations, you have just slayed this mix, and I'm extremely proud of you. Now you have an incredibly slamming mix. Go and do something amazing with it. And if you enjoy these types of guides, you should definitely check out the Music Production Mastery course and my group inside of Song Chasers. We've got some great stuff going on in there. So check out the link in the description, and I'll see you in there.